Hi, friends, and welcome to our 95th Rays and Initiations webinar commentary. We're beginning at page 690, and the discussion is about the third initiation, and our guiding thought as we begin this section is that it is at this initiation that the disciple begins consciously and creatively to direct the energies being made available to him, doing so via the Ajna center and directed towards humanity as a whole. So let us see here what kind of energies are being directed by the Ajna center at the time when it becomes sufficiently activated to really serve with respect to the divine plan and with respect to the whole, to the soul of humanity. The energy of his own soul, that is the first energy. This has a purely group effect. And through working through his personality, though working through his personality is consciously directed outward into the world after the transforming process brought about as the energy received permeates his threefold mechanism. So first, transformation, and then direction towards humanity. So the energy of the soul, this is directed. Now, following this, and of a higher nature, the energy of the ashram to which he belongs. Both this energy and the one above mentioned are necessarily the energy of his soul ray, and of the ashram which is representative of that ray. I mean, for so many of us, it's the ashram of the Master DK. It's the second ray ashram, subsidiary to that of the Master KH and belonging to the Master KH. The ashram of DK belongs to that. The effect produced according to his capacity of absorption and direction will further the working out of the divine plan. So, as disciples, our capacity for absorption and direction will determine the effectiveness of the Ashramic energy we direct through the Ajna center. Then, more, the energy of the hierarchy itself. This is still on a higher turn of the spiral. The energy is primarily controlled by the energy of the second ray of love wisdom, though this dominant ray is modified and enriched through blending with the 6 other rays. So there is the presence of the 6 subrays, really 7 subrays, the pure 2 sub 2. His use of this energy will at first be largely on an unconscious use, and he will register at this point no definite intention because of who he is. He is simply a transmitter of hierarchical energy, but not really a director of such energy. This is due to his, all this due to his affiliations. So this is due to the magnitude of the great reservoir of energies. He is a recipient of incoming energy largely because he is an initiated member of the hierarchy and is also a pure channel for transmission. Now, we are speaking of a third degree initiate. Third degree initiate, yes. And before that, it's not really possible, because when one is, after all, a third degree initiate, one is a true member of the ashram and not simply standing on the periphery. Now, there's another possible transmission. This is interesting. The peculiar energy which is transmitted to him by Sanat Kumara at the time of his initiation. This is a totally different energy to that transmitted to him at the earlier initiations, because this third initiation is, after all, the first solar initiation. It comes from Shamballa and is uniquely, in a sense, undefinable and hence incomprehensible to you, the energy of the Planetary Logos himself. You do have to remember that Sanat Kumara is an extension, is the Planetary Logos, and yet he is not. He is an extension in emanation of the Planetary Logos. He directs extraplanetary energy in the initiations which follow the third initiation, from the Ajna center of which he is possessed to the head center of the initiate, and from thence immediately to the Ajna center of the initiate. So we are learning Sanat Kumara has chakras, and his, I think, head center can be called Shamballa. So in any case, extraplanetary energy now, this is following the third initiation, but one wonders whether the fifth ray energy of Venus is not directed at this time to the becoming third degree initiate. Becoming, yes. Then this energy is directed outward into the destined field of service. This energy is of so high a quality that there is nothing of a registering mechanism in the initiate's equipment capable of registering its admission and circulation through his three head centers. The Shamballic energy from Sanat Kumara is directed through the initiate's three head centers. I suppose it's head center, Ajna, okay, Ajna center, and Alta Major center. AML. Okay, let's get that down. ALMC. Alta Major Center. Okay. Right. Nevertheless, this energy does pour through him and out into the world, in spite of the fact that he remains unconscious of its presence. And perhaps this is one of the reasons why disciples carrying and transmitting energy of which they are unaware have a disturbing and disrupting effect on the lives of younger disciples. So, let's see, Ajna, Alta. No. All right, it would be nice to be able to somehow make that a word which was not registered as a misspelling. Okay, so this is the energy of Sanat Kumara himself, and it is energy from Shamballa. It is extraplanetary, and we have to look at what planet may be involved other than the Earth in this third initiation. And of course, he says it's after the third initiation that Sanat Kumara's Ajna center to the head center. Now, interestingly enough, the Ajna center would be the new group of world servers. So we'll ask that, is the Ajna center of Sanat Kumara not the new group of world servers? But it probably originates in the head center. So there are some connections there with the fourth ray, Taurus, the fourth ray, some type of brilliant illumination. There is the beginning of the light supernal, and Shamballa is the source of unfettered enlightenment. In any case, this is an unregistered energy. So note, okay, don't want that. So let's just say note that this is an unregistered energy. And totally different, because the energy of hierarchy is succeeded by this energy transmitted. It can't be the full energy of Shamballa, of course, but it's got to be, if it's Sanat Kumara, who is the king of Shamballa and emanation of the Planetary Logos, then it has to be connected to Shamballa. So this comes from Shamballa, and it's the energy of the Planetary Logos himself. And then later, extraplanetary energies from the Ajna center, of which he is possessed, goes to the head center of the initiate, and from there it can animate any one of the 7 head centers and animate other chakras as well. So the Ajna center of the initiate is stimulated and can thereby transmit this energy originating from a very high source. So let us review what we might direct: the energy of our own soul, the energy of the ashram to which we belong, and the more we realize ourselves as members of that ashram, the more successful we will be in directing. And one has to be an initiate of the third degree, really, to be a full member and not a peripheral member of the ashram. Of course, it's not the same type of membership as being a master, and DK does have masters in his ashram, interestingly enough. Maybe they have their own ashrams too, which are subsidiary to his. The energy of the hierarchy, predominantly a second ray energy with a number of sub-rays, and then the energy of Shamballa itself. And this is unique, and I want to point out that it does come from Shamballa at the time of this third initiation. And it is transmitted from the Planetary Logos in his fullness by Sanat Kumara, who is an aspect of the Planetary Logos. And after the third initiation, extraplanetary energy is directed. But I would be surprised if, given the name of Sanat Kumara, the Lord of Venusian love, and his deep connection with Venus, I would be surprised if this energy directed from Shamballa did not have some Venusian content. And then later, for other initiations, there will be extraplanetary energies directed from his Ajna center. Now, as I say, the Ajna center, are we talking about the Ajna center now of the Planetary Logos? But, let's just say here, but perhaps, however, we are speaking of the Ajna center of the Planetary Logos and not that of Sanat Kumara. So perhaps the new group of world servers is not the source of this energy. Well, both seem to be involved. Both the Planetary Logos and Sanat Kumara. The Planetary Logos, however, is not the full initiator, we're told, until the 7th initiation. And this is preceded by a being who has to remain nameless, who probably also an emanation of the Planetary Logos, but is the officer, the initiator, at the 6th initiation. We find this in that early book, Initiation, Human and Solar, and it's a necessary piece of information to link up with this information. So we are directing energies consciously and unconsciously once we take the 3rd initiation. Once we take the 3rd initiation, we direct energies both consciously and unconsciously. And I suppose before that, before the 3rd degree, there's a lot of unconscious direction of these energies. The Ajna center is the center of direction. So, you know, it can transmit all the rays and has much of the ability to transmit the first ray, the ray of direction. It is placed symbolically between the eyes. You kind of wonder why symbolically. Maybe it's found, well, you know, he's using this word. And in some respects, we have Ajna center activities going on within the head. But anyway, symbolically between the eyes, we see that all the time in the various illustrations. Add to dictionary, yes, we do that. Okay. And, you know, just the way there is etherically within the head that which is related to the Ajna center. And it signifies the twofold direction of the life energy of the initiate outward into the world of men and upward towards the divine life and source of all being, and its connection with the head center and the pituitary's connection with the pineal gland, PNG, and I think we'll make that pineal gland is the indication of this higher type higher type of connection with the source, where the direction of the energy is consciously undertaken, and there are certain energies of which the initiate is constantly aware. The Ajna center is controlled and dominated by the indwelling spirit of man. And by this, I suppose we can include the soul. And not only the monad as the spirit. The spiritual man bases all action in relation to these entering energies on the ancient premise that energy follows thought. So energy goes towards and to that upon which we concentrate. His thought life becomes therefore the field of his major effort, increasingly so as the higher initiations are taken. He's now working with the head, he's not just working with the hands and feet. For he knows that the mind is the agent of direction. And I suppose, this involves creative visualization and, the creative imagination. He endeavors to concentrate within himself so that eventually he may consciously control and direct all the incoming divine energies. So he looks within and registers that which is incoming and learns to isolate them and direct them appropriately outwardly. This is in reality the major hierarchical endeavor, and the work of the masters are pledged, and the work to which the masters are pledged and for which they are in constant training, the rightful direction of energy. As the evolutionary process proceeds, new and higher energies become available. This is particularly the case now as they prepare for the reappearance of the Christ. So the masters are preparing for the reappearance of the Christ, and new energies are thus available to them, and they direct these energies in ways that will promote the reappearance of the Christ and presumably the externalization of the hierarchy. So increasingly, service is accomplished through thought and the direction of energy through the Ajna center. Now think about the new group of world servers being an Ajna center of Sanat Kumara, and we understand something about its duty as an energy director, maybe not only through the power of thought, maybe through other and still lesser means, but still to direct energy where it is needed and see that it is brought to those areas of need, even by humble and material means. So, this directing of energy, this is the major hierarchical endeavor to which the masters are pledged and for which they are in constant training. There are three words which are directive words for the disciple as he handles his life, his environment, and the circumstances. This at the time of the third initiation. They are integration, direction, and science. So he's repeating here what is found on page 340. His task, as he faces it after the third initiation, is to produce a greater personal integration so that he becomes increasingly the soul-infused personality. Now, note, that soul infusion is not completed by the time the third initiation occurs, and that's something I've been saying all along. It really takes we have to go to the fourth degree before we really can complete soul infusion and have the at the same time the causal body disappear as a sign that infusion has been completed. So this is integration does, so increasing integration does follow the third degree. Okay, third degree. And also to integrate himself in his environment for service purposes, becoming more and more useful, just as the externalizing ashrams are gathered around the masters who will be in the 5 planetary centers, will be integrated into the societies of their day, whether it happens in 100 years or less or more, and will be looked to for sound advice. Of course, this is going to take a while, isn't it? And a major revision of understanding. To this must be added the subtler task of integrating himself into the ashram so that he becomes an integral part of the master's band of workers. All this following the third degree. So DK is giving us hints in discussing these degrees about some of the steps which do follow these degrees. Okay. Right. As the work of integration proceeds, he is striving all the time to learn the uses of the Ajna center. It's fourfold center and very complex in a way, and has 96 petals. And consciously and with right understanding to work with, absorb, transmute, and distribute energy as his major Ashramic service. So he is striving all the time to learn the uses of the Ajna center and distribute these energies as his Ashramic service. Work with, absorb, transmute, so that they can be used in the environment to which he is going to direct them, distribute them. He becomes a directing energy distributor. Okay. His keynote is right direction as the result of right reaction to the hierarchical intention and the injunction of his own soul. Well, I think that is the keynote of the advancing initiate, and apparently following the third initiation, increasingly so. Both integration and direction, he discovers, require understanding of occult scientific knowledge. He works then as a scientist, and for this reason, all the 3 keynotes of his life as an initiate, before and immediately after the third initiation, are conditioned by and directed by the mind. The 5th ray and the mind become very important at this initiation and following it, although intuition is cultivated. The mental plane becomes the field of his major endeavor as a server. Okay, and we can, examine our own methods of serving and see to what degree service on the mental plane is the major characteristic of our type of service. Certainly we're growing in that direction, and even from the second initiation with its keynotes of spiritual intelligence and mental illumination, we are growing in that direction. Okay. Again, you see that I am presenting you with no glamorous picture of the initiatory process, but only one of hard work, constant effort, and strenuous mental and spiritual living. In the last sermon of the Buddha, he constantly invoked the need for a strenuous approach. And in Ajna Yoga, he was called the lion. There is much here for you to consider, and what I have here given warrants sound reflection and much thought. Reading is one thing, but continuing with reflection and thought and elaboration, it's an extension. It is my earnest hope and wish that you may realize that the teaching here given can be appropriated by you, and that the initiatory process is one that eventually you will understand and in which you will participate. So he gives us what we need, and what we do with it is up to us. Much discussion in groups is needed, no question. So, we don't understand the initiatory process yet fully, but we will, and we will participate correctly. All of that is coming for us if we wisely handle what we have been offered. So here, the Transfiguration is what we've examined. In this Transfiguration, we finally begin to serve as true members of the hierarchy, serve the power of directed thought and directed energy. So it is a step up. Transfiguration. Oh, it's not going to, yeah, there we go. Okay. Well, obviously, there's so much more that we could enter into here. Integration, direction, science, integration, ongoing to the fourth degree, direction through the Ajna center, as stimulated by the head center and by Sanat Kumara, and even by the Planetary Logos, and fifth ray science to know with exactitude what we are really doing. We become an exponent of the sacred sciences. Of course, there are the sacred arts and sciences, and we must learn how to apply knowledge in an intuitive manner, and thereby it becomes an art. I do, wish I could go on with this and ponder all these things, but this is something that you will have to do on your own and in your groups, depending on how earnestly you seek to make this knowledge your own. You are definitely an energy director. The higher the initiation you take, and by the time of the third degree, you become a conscious energy director capable of focusing within the causal body, within the egoic lotus, and directing energies of soul, ashram, hierarchy, and even Shamballic energies from Sanat Kumara, which originated via the Planetary Logos, even though maybe unconsciously you do so. Okay, now we're going to move on and begin to study the fourth degree, the Great Renunciation, or Crucifixion. Carries, kind of a frightening tone, in the West anyway. The idea of the crucifixion. Maybe to renounce all and be in a cave in the East seems less onerous, but I'm sure that it has its exquisite loneliness and also its amazing participation in all things. So I will go on with this quite shortly. Okay, friends, we'll go on here then with the fourth initiation, the Great Renunciation or Crucifixion. This initiation is called the Crucifixion by Christian believers, called the Crucifixion, is so familiar to the majority of people that I'm hard put to it to say that which will arrest your attention, and thus offset a familiarity which necessarily lessens the importance of the theme in your consciousness. The idea of crucifixion is associated in your minds with death and torture, whereas neither concept underlies the true meaning of this initiation. Let us consider some of the significances connected with this fourth initiation. Okay. I guess, it has much to do with how the Romans of the time put people to death through the wooden cross. But of course, the cross is a much older symbol, and people's connection to the cross is deeply metaphysical and has to do with energy of an astrological nature. So it's much, much older than the precipitation of its meaning into a means of putting those these state thinks of as culprits to death. The sign of the cross associated in the Western world with this initiation and with the Christian faith is in reality a cosmic symbol, long antedating the Christian era. The various signs of the zodiac are related to each other via crosses. So we have the common cross, the fixed cross, and the Cardinal Cross. So let's see, let me put this in here, FXC. Okay, I see how that goes. So that's going to be in capitals, FXC, and the Cardinal Cross, CDX Cardinal Cross. Okay, I've already taken care of these, but in capitals. So, for instance, a cross is formed, a Cardinal Cross, Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn, and a fixed cross of Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius, and the common cross of Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces. So it is, the cross is one of the major signs to be found in the consciousness of those advanced beings who, from the distant sun Sirius, the seat of the true Great White Lodge, greater than the Great White Lodge on our planet, by far, watch over the destinies of our solar system, but who pay particular attention why they do so is not yet revealed to our relatively little and apparently unimportant planet, the Earth. So, the cross is a symbol much associated with Sirius, and Sirius is interestingly associated with Little Earth. But of course, it's largely, as I say, an astrological symbol which has been precipitated materially into a sign of death. It is a sign, to say it's a symbol of the inhibition of freedom, at least the temporary inhibition of freedom, and always for a purpose. The word crucifixion comes from two Latin words signifying fix on a cross. And he says, I've asked AAB to look this word up in the dictionary so you can have a sense of surety, to fix upon the cross. And all of us are ascending to our next higher stage of evolution via a temporary fixation in which desire of some kind is curtailed and sacrifice is ensured. The cross referred to in reference to this particular initiation is the Cardinal Cross of the heavens. Well, we can say that here he says so. But in Esoteric Astrology, we have, in fact, the statement that neither the fixed cross or cardinal cross is operative, but man is in a transition phase between these crosses. But eventually, of course, the crucifixion leads to the possibility of crucifixion upon the cardinal cross, and that, I think, begins in earnest at the fifth degree. It is to this cross that the disciple shifts at the fourth initiation from the fixed cross in the heavens, but he elaborates more about the shifting process in the astrology book. More into detail and how, in fact, the real mounting of the cardinal cross doesn't occur until the fifth degree. This fixed cross is the one on which he has been crucified from the moment he found himself upon the path of probation, and we might say even before the first initiation, and passed from thence onto the path of discipleship. Maybe the true path of discipleship beginning at the first degree begins at the first degree. So from that time on, and slightly before, he's certainly on the fixed cross, and the esoteric rulers pertain to describing his life without discounting the effects of the earlier rulers, which become subsets then of the esoteric rulers. On that path, having transcended the world of phenomena and established an unbroken contact with the monad via the antikarana, and we can say starting consciously at the third degree, he renounces the mutable cross of existence in the three worlds, the world of appearances, and after a period of time he transfers from that cross onto the fixed cross, which is set up in the world of meaning, where he has steadily to learn to dwell. The world of meaning is the world of the soul. And when the soul becomes more prominent, before the first initiation, the fixed cross becomes his cross. So this covers the period of the first three initiations. That is life upon the fixed cross. And we're all, if we are studying DK's work and truly aspiring, and every true aspirant, he tells us, has taken the first initiation, we are mounting the fixed cross. There's quite a transition period there from off the mutable cross, and it seems the sign Pisces is involved in that transition. So the first three initiations are certainly on the fixed cross. As for the fourth, neither the fixed cross nor fully the Cardinal Cross, though it is in sight. Now, being liberated through renunciation, he needs no longer to undergo the tests, trials, and difficulties which crucifixion upon the fixed cross inevitably entails. So that tells us something about life upon the fixed cross, and so many of us are traveling on this cross at this time, the tests, the trials, and difficulties which crucifixion on the fixed cross inevitably entails. He can now take his place upon the Cardinal Cross, at least by the 5th degree, I would say, with all its cosmic implications, because crucifixion on the fixed cross lasts a very long time. I think, even Sanat Kumara, even our Planetary Logos, is crucified on the Cardinal Cross. So he takes his place upon the Cardinal Cross with all its cosmic implications and opportunities, which are then conferred. This, as far as the individual is concerned, is necessarily symbolic and figurative in its teaching, but the energies to which he is now exposed are very real, not merely symbolic. As far as the heavenly man is concerned, however, the application is not symbolic. Okay, the heavenly man being one way of referring to our planetary logos. It is far more factual. From the angle of the Supreme Masters on Sirius, our planetary logos is still on the fixed cross. He is being tested. He mounted the Mutable Cross in the first, and I want to say, major solar system. The fixed cross still holds him in this solar system, fixed in his place. In the next solar system, he will transfer himself onto the Cardinal Cross. Interestingly, he will take at least fourth initiation in this solar system, and maybe the fifth initiation. So, if the transference is in the next solar system, then we realize that the 5th degree is the first real opportunity to mount the Cardinal Cross in a cosmic sense. And so that parallels the idea that man is on neither cross when taking the 4th degree. And I can't say about the solar logos, but in the next solar system, it will be either the 5th degree that he begins working on, or the 6th, if has taken the 5th degree in this solar system. But DK is definite about saying in the next solar system he mounts the Cardinal Cross. Well, the 6th degree is the degree of the monad, and so this Cardinal Cross has not to do so much with the soul as with the monad. In any case, mounting at the 5th, mounting at the 6th, is not the same as mounting at the 4th. So in the next solar system, he will transfer himself to the Cardinal Cross, and from thence return to that high place whence he came. and you kind of wonder, what is that? Is this as a chakra within the solar logos? The origin of all of us is identical, but in the descent from the one universal logos, there are different scopes of emanation. The scope of some early emanations is vast, and as we progress, they become more and more confined. Compared to universal emanation, I suppose the solar logos is still very confined. And how much more so is the planetary logos and then a man, and finally an atom, to use the categories DK has used in a treatise on cosmic fire. Well, he'll return to the high place from whence he came. I believe we can consider that to be the solar logos, but there are higher places to which the solar logos belongs, the cosmic logos, and there are higher places or sources to which a cosmic logos belongs, a super cosmic logos, or what we normally call a one about whom naught may be said. You can see, therefore, why I emphasize the fact that these three crosses are simply symbols of experience in relation to the individual disciple. Well, certainly the energies do change with the different types of crucifixion. And with crucifixion, it seems to involve some of the fixation of the fifth ray. One does not move. And so Saturn also is involved, limiting mobility until a specific task is accomplished. So all of us, we are definitely crucified, and I would say that earnest readers of the Tibetans' books, who have demonstrated their aspiration and their will to follow the path of discipleship are crucified on the fixed cross, and it does last a while, that type of crucifixion. And it is very trying, demanding. Let's see if we can test trials and difficulties. We think of Scorpio in this regard, test, trial, and triumph. And then struggle, strength, and Sagittarian attitudes. Another development of crucifixion on the fixed cross, especially when Scorpio is focal. Okay, so let's see what these different crosses rule. The Mutable Cross governs the three worlds and the astral plane in particular. This is interesting. Transition has not been made into a soul-infused mind. On this cross, the average man is crucified until he achieves the needed experience and consciously reorients himself to another phase of unfoldment, and this is by conscious choice. So as mentality becomes more enlightened, the possibility of moving onto the fixed cross occurs. It's not just the mind. The mind can be very intelligent, and the individual may not be on the fixed cross at all. It's the higher of the pairs of opposites, the soul and its type of light, which has to enter for this fixed cross transition to begin. Now he describes a little bit about the fixed cross. The fixed cross governs the five worlds in human development and conditions the experiences of all disciples. Now, this is interesting because 5 worlds will include the Atmic plane, which is the plane of the master. So oftentimes think that soul ray, which is the ray of the triad in a way, remains dominant, it remains powerful until the 5th initiation. Let's see. The soul ray remains powerful until the 5th initiation. The soul ray is the same as the lower triadal ray. Okay. So, this seems to extend some influence of the fixed cross even beyond the 3rd degree. Because if it rules 5 worlds, the master himself is focused in 5 worlds, the Arhat, or 4th degree initiate, in 4, and the master is not even the complete ruler of the Atmic plane. He's the complete master of life in the 3 worlds. So we have to compare this statement about 5 worlds with the duration of life upon the fixed cross. Does the spiritual triad correspond to the fixed cross? Well, it certainly has the soul ray, and also a representation of the monadic ray, the higher of the triadal rays. So it's kind of a transitional energy center. Through the discipline and experience thus gained whilst on this cross, the disciple passes from one renunciation to another until complete freedom and liberation has been achieved. Freedom and liberation are achieved through renunciation. It seems almost counterintuitive because, human beings tend to think that the more we have, the freer we will be, because we'll have everything we want, so we'll be free of the desire to have those things because we have them. But desire itself, the Buddha has informed us, chains the man to the lower vibratory areas. Now the Cardinal Cross. Cardinal Cross governs the master as he passes through the remaining 5 initiations. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And now here he's going to elaborate on this point, which he didn't really mention earlier. So it is really the master who mounts the Cardinal Cross. And here he says that the 4th initiation is curiously enough governed by neither the fixed cross or the Cardinal Cross. As I have been saying, I thought I found it in Esoteric Astrology, and maybe there, yes, but also here as well, it seems. The disciple is descending from the fixed cross and seeking to mount the Cardinal Cross, and it is this transition period and experience which practically govern him. So descending and mounting govern the interim between the 3rd initiation and the 5th initiation. And note that the term transition applies to the 8th initiation, which is double the 4th initiation. So 4th initiation is also transitional from the fixed cross and all that remains with an individual, from experience of test and trial and so forth on the fixed cross, towards the Cardinal Cross, which is the cross of liberation, in a way, at least from all the lower identifications. It might be noted that there are 3 initiations which test the disciple as to knowledge and experience. 3 initiations with tests. This is the testing cross, the fixed cross. The first and second and the third. Then there comes an initiation of transition, followed by 5 initiations, which the master undergoes upon the Cardinal Cross. And one of those initiations of the 5 is called the transition. It is the 8th initiation, and has to do, I believe, with transition onto the cosmic astral plane and the ability to focus there. And I think, before the refusal, which is the 9th initiation, there is the ability to focus on the cosmic astral plane, but one can come and go, cosmic physical, cosmic astral, etc. By the 9th initiation, one no longer joins or adheres to or returns to the cosmic physical plane. Again, these are words, these are concepts, thoughts, structures in thought, which may seem to inform us about the structure of things to come, but represent no true experience for us. So anyway, the 4th initiation is transitional, and the 8th initiation is called the transition. So the 4th initiation is transitional, and the 8th initiation is called the transition. Now, that 4th initiation is covering a transition which admits the individual into the spiritual triad, and eventually into the highest level of the spiritual triad at mastership. The transition, the 8th initiation of transition, admits to, I think, stabilization upon the astral plane. Not much is said about it. Interestingly enough, it's ruled by the 4 rays of attributes. So there's the number 4 appearing again in terms of transition. Now, let's see. It should be remembered that the distinctive nature of the man upon the Mutable Cross is that of self-consciousness, that the disciple is rapidly becoming group conscious when the experiences undergone have been rightly assimilated, and the master on the Cardinal Cross is distinguished by a universal consciousness, which passes finally into cosmic consciousness, a state of being unknown to you even in the wildest flights of your imagination. So from individual consciousness to group consciousness to consciousness, I suppose, of some kind of oneness. It's a universal cosmic. Now, the term universal consciousness, okay, I think I'll put that one in there too. Okay, so universal consciousness. The term universal consciousness perhaps relates to extended consciousness of the solar system. Cosmic consciousness, again, makes me want to CSC. By this time, I don't apologize anymore for putting these in. You know what I'm doing. Cosmic consciousness refers to consciousness beyond the solar system, and he says we really can't know anything about it. The first hint of the growth of cosmic consciousness comes when the disciple passes through the 6th initiation of decision. And what do we have here that potentially, okay, Okay, I need the little bracket there, don't I? So potentially, the monad is conscious beyond the solar system. Where did the monad come from? Well, it was certainly part of the universal logos, although maybe not so subdivided, but a part of a much greater monad, which then subdivided and diversified. So the monad, this is as if to say the monad, potentially the monad is conscious beyond the solar system. Potentially the monad is cosmically conscious. He determines then by means of his enlightened will, and not his mind, a mysterious statement really, which of the 7 paths he will decide to follow. Not the mind, but the enlightened will determines this choice. So then does the will subsume the mind in this determination? Is this, how do you determine something by will? This is mysterious. Determine a choice by will. Maybe there's a resonant factor there. He finds out that to which the highest will within him resonates. We might say, maybe, okay, he discovers that to which the highest will within him resonates. From that time on, the consciousness of the greater life, which enfolds our planetary logos as he unfolds humanity within his consciousness, increasingly controls the attitude and awareness of the activities of the master. The master is increasingly solar systemically conscious. And eventually, when we go beyond the stage of the master, what is the initiator? At the 7th degree, it is the planetary logos, but seems to me we could have, can the solar logos step in as initiator? Remember, the solar logos is a cosmic being. So this idea of cosmic consciousness takes us into that which the solar logos knows and beyond, when we start getting into those various constellations considered as our destination of the adventuring monad on the way of higher evolution, then indeed we have something that we can look at as the first steps in cosmic consciousness. Anything beyond the consciousness of the planetary logos, remember how high you can go that way, even the 7th degree, has got to begin to suggest a growing cosmic consciousness. At first, solar systemic consciousness in a broad and general sense, and then as we move along the way of higher evolution, there is consciousness on the higher cosmic planes, starting with the cosmic astral plane. Anyway, we're looking at these destinations. For us, they are merely a structure of thought in mind and help us keep organized our anticipation of what growth may lead to. Well, okay. Unfortunately, I'm being cut off tonight. Not able really to continue, but I'm anticipating that with number 96, which is the next video, I will continue on the subject. So this is the end of Rays and Initiation Webinar Commentary number 95, and we're on page 694. And the day is the 25th of July. And let's just see, I always wonder where we are here, up to 694. Okay. Surely I can do better than this. 690 to 694. It's more like an hour program. And I'll send that off to you. I know it will take some time to catch up with all this. Even if you study assiduously, it will take time. But it's hard to imagine how time can better be spent than to begin to be exposed to, absorb, and assimilate that which has been allowed to come forth of the great teaching from Shamballa. This has the sanction of Sanat Kumara behind it, and of the Christ, and of the, I suppose, the Chohan of the second ray, Master KH, and then eventually Master DK is given the permission as the messenger of the masters to bring it down to our level of comprehension. Beginning of Rays Initiation Webinar Commentary, number 96. And this will be from 694 to something. Not sure what. Okay, let's see where we are, friends. Thank you for studying along with me here. I do love to study, and hopefully have learned to apply some of what I learn or speculate upon in order to test the veracity of what I conclude. Anyway, the whole theme of crucifixion has come up here. At least it is the Western term for the Great Renunciation. It is ahead of us, obviously, although sometimes I think Master DK is writing in such a way that even initiates of the fourth degree can benefit by reading certain aspects of his teaching, and initiates of the fifth degree, of which he has, we are told, 5 in his ashram, even if they have their own ashrams, I think can benefit also from reading some of what he brings forth. Of course, their reading will be, and their understanding, entirely beyond our own. So, directing energy through the Ajna center in various ways. Learning how to truly cooperate with the plan through the direction of thought and the energy of thought. Masters work this way. We're learning to work this way. The understanding of the sequence of integration, direction, and science, realizing that integration goes on even after the third degree, up till the fourth. Well, really, it's a process which goes on and on every time we bring into our field of consciousness a new area of energy. Integration is required, a new area of energy and consciousness. We become scientists of the spirit. This is largely, we're working here about concerning the fourth initiation. We've concluded something concerning the fifth. And he's trying to arrest our attention when we think we know so much about what the crucifixion is. Familiarity has made it difficult to understand the deeper aspects of it. And then he'll deal with the various crosses, ruling self-consciousness, group consciousness, and the transition from universal to cosmic consciousness. This is a little review of what we have just covered, and we'll take it further the next time we get together. Okay, friends, lots of love. Let's study hard. Let's apply. Let's learn. Let's assimilate so that when the next offering is given, the next dispensation, the third in this series of bridging treatises, we will be well fortified with what we have assimilated in order to go on and understand the newly offered teaching in a deeper way. I will see you then. Take care.